Hey guys, Vox here, and welcome to my review of the new Crystal Gems. This episode is Steven Universe at its best with its characters without being too much plot-oriented. And by characters, I don't mean its main cast, but its secondary cast. I feel like people have been longing for more Peridot, Lapis, and Connie development, but since we're relegated from Steven's perspective, we don't usually get that. But since this was a flashback told to Steven, it was able to execute that very well. Steven and the Gems were arrived back on Earth, and I need to rant before I actually talk about this episode. In the Visualized Distortion, Steven said, "We'll get the rubies on the way back." They do not have the rubies. The rubies did not appear at all in this episode. They didn't even mention them. I thought at least maybe we would see them bubbled, but that was not the case. The reason why this is so bad is because if the rubies, and especially eyeballs, are out there, and we know Homeworld's on the way, and the Gems know Homeworld's on the way to get more humans for the zoo, why would they leave the rubies who have come in contact with them, who know the crystal gems are out there, who knows Amethyst pretended to be Jasper, and Eyeball knows that Steven is a rose quartz, and believes that's the rose quartz who share a pink diamond, floating in space for Homeworld to come pick up? Why would they leave them out just floating there? Doesn't Garnet have future vision? Isn't she gonna have a vision of Homeworld fighting the rubies? Or did they all just forget and all slip their minds and Garnet won't get a vision about it just for plot convenience? Because Steven Universe usually doesn't bring up things without following up on them. So it's really surprising and disappointing that they didn't retrieve the rubies. So unless in the beginning of the next few episodes, one of them begins with them finally getting the rubies, or we have an episode where they go get the rubies, although I'm not really sure if that can make an entertaining 12 minutes, more than likely they forgot about the rubies and Homeworld's gonna find them. Unless the rubies fall into Earth's atmosphere, they crash land back on Earth or something. And yeah, I'm just very disappointed the Gems would forget that, because they all heard Yellow Diamond say there's still time to get humans for the zoo. So you think to be like, oh, we definitely gotta get the rubies now, because if Homeworld picks them up on the way, that's not gonna end well for us. But I digress. Connie meets up with Steven and the Gems when they land on the beach, and when they ask Connie how everything went, she recounts everything that happened. From here we go all the way back to when Steven called Connie. Connie was ready to go, she had her sword in her hand, but since Steven and the Gems were already ready to take off, she was left behind. So she goes to the beach house for whatever reason. I don't understand how Steven telling Connie to protect Beach City correlates with her going to the beach house, but she just goes. I guess she just assumed to do their laundry since she told Pearl that she did do the laundry. Essentially, she was sent to house it. But she hears something in the bathroom. When she goes, she sees Peridot being flushed down the toilet by Lapis, because of course, in the Visualized Distortion, Garnet told Peridot and Lapis to also stay in Beat City to protect it while they're gone. And Lapis and Peridot say, "Do you knock?" And Lapis calls Connie a weirdo. And what's interesting is, Lapis doesn't remember Connie, who Peridot refers to as Steven's third best friend. And when Connie says, "You tried drowning me when you stole Earth's ocean," Lapis just says, "I tried to drown a lot of people," which is kind of a contrast to Alone at Sea, where she felt kind of embarrassed and awkward when Greg is like, "Yeah, you broke my leg." But hey, different storyboarders, different writing styles. Plus maybe Lapis just felt a bit more comfortable with Peridot around, so she was a lot more sassy, because Lapis was really sassy in this episode. And Pumpkin Dog's also there with them, so Connie meets Pumpkin Dog. And I really love the music in this episode, because when Pumpkin Dog came out, the music incorporated a note from his debut scene in Gem Harvest. So Connie, Peridot, and Lapis try to figure out what they can do next. And Peridot suggests to be the Crystal Gems. Peridot's Garnet with the sunglasses, Connie Steven with the star shirt, Lapis is Amethyst with her hair. She parted it to look more like Amethyst hair. And Pumpkin Dog, or Veggie Head, or whatever you want to call him, is Pearl, and just like Jamie, has a birthday hat as a nose. And what's interesting here is that Peridot and Lapis' voice actresses originally auditioned for Garnet and Amethyst respectively. So it was really cool that they had the person who auditioned for Garnet, aka Peridot, dressed up as Garnet, and of course Lapis' voice actress auditioning for Amethyst had Lapis dressed up as Amethyst by her hair. Now what I liked here is when they're observing Beach City, you see Ronaldo, he's camping out. I wonder what he's looking at. I wonder if that's subtle setup for Rockinaldo, since that's Ronaldo looking for all the rock people, aka Gems in Beach City. But what I liked was Lars and Sadie. Sadie's reading a magazine and you see Lars somewhat cuddled up with her. And Lars' shirt was the shirt Steven picked out in the new Lars, and that also kind of appeared in Future Boy Zontron, but he's wearing it again here. So the new Lars was important to Lars' character. A lot of people were like, well, what's kind of the point of this episode? Because if Lars knows he can be a better person, why doesn't he just be one? But now that he's wearing that shirt, the one that Steven specifically took out when he was in his body, and that he's publicly giving Sadie affection, shows that Lars changed. The new Lars did stick with him. He's gonna try to be the person that Steven was when he was in his body, because that's the Lars that people like. Not that Lars isn't being himself, but he's not gonna be afraid to show his feelings, and he's gonna try to be less of a jerk. So Connie, Lapis, and Peridot hear distress, which they pinpoint to the car wash. So they go up to the car wash and see that Buck has to wash off his dad's mirror vehicle because the head on it got defaced, and he said it was funny until he actually had to wash it. So Connie's like, yeah, well, I guess we have to wash it off. So Peridot for metal powers, and she's gotten a lot better for metal powers since Earthlings, like a lot better. She's lifting like full car now in vehicles, because in Beta and Earthlings she couldn't really control things for long, but here she has pretty good control over it. And Lapis uses her water powers to wash it off. And because, you know, they're using powers and defying the laws of physics, more and more people are coming to the car wash, which is like, no one really came when Greg was just running the car wash on his own, so I found that kind of amusing. Peridot, trying to stay in character, tells Lapis, you're not being that great of an amethyst, and that her performance is lacking, and that Amethyst would goof around and tell jokes. So Lapis starts splashing people, taking it a lot less seriously, being kind of unprofessional, and it's starting to actually irritate Connie and other people, the Beat City victims who are getting splashed by Lapis. Because Connie speaks up about this, Lapis is like, you know what, I should be Garnet, and then she starts talking like Garnet, and it's actually pretty cute. But she takes it too far, uses her giant hand of water, causes a bigger mess, causes destruction. Peridot and Lapis starts fighting, and they end up wrecking the car wash. And this is what I like about Peridot and Lapis by here as compared to Beta. Beta, it felt like they were too good of close friends too soon. Like we really didn't have time to see them develop and blossom to an actual natural friendship. They went from awkward but potentially good friends by the end of the Barmaids and Hit the Diamond, but since we spent so much time off screen, so we follow Steven's perspective, when they were just buddy-buddy, irreciprocal, practically dating in Beta, it didn't feel natural because we didn't see that progression on screen. But here, we see that they're still butting heads, they get along most of the time, but there's still friction. That felt a lot more realistic and a lot more in character than them just being coupled up and irreciprocal and a whole lot more coupley when the last time we saw them together, they literally just became roommates and Lapis was still reluctant to it. Now, if a scene like that happened later in the series, it would make a lot more sense because a lot more time would have passed, but that's just my opinion on that. So they go back to the Beat City house, and Connie lets them have it. She goes off on them. And Peridot's like, Steven wouldn't say this. And Connie says, you're right, I'm not Steven, but you need to stop acting like children. To which Lapis responds, we're thousands of years older than you, and then Connie says, you are, so please act like it. And this is really rewarding because the gems do have habits of acting a lot more immature than they should be, especially since they are older than any human on Earth. And again, the music in this episode was amazing because while Connie's giving her little speech about having to grow up and the fact that they're not the crystal gems, we have a really nice rendition of Connie's theme playing, and I loved it. I loved every single second of it. Which then brings the story back to the present. They go to the car wash. Greg's like, it doesn't seem that bad. They tried to fix it the best they can, and Lapis and Peridot roll out a new sign. So in future episodes with the car wash, we are going to see that new sign. And Greg loves it. And the new crystal gems do a pose. And it was just a really good episode. Now, I actually really enjoyed all the character interactions in this episode. I liked when Lapis was acting like Amethyst, talking like her, doing her mannerisms, doing her little booyahs and everything. I liked Peridot trying to be as stoic and mysterious as Garnet. And I like how Connie throughout everything was trying to be herself, but then Peridot was like, you could be a little bit more Steven. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed because Peridot and Lapis didn't really get their stars. They didn't go against like any actual threats like Corrupted Gem or Homeworld or anything like me and many others speculated, but I liked how it was just a fun episode. It was just character development. It was much needed character development for these characters. Not just for Beat City characters, but for the actual secondary characters like Peridot, Lapis, and Connie. And seeing them somewhat interact with townies was actually pretty cool. It was a start. The show needs to do that a lot more, and I feel like a lot less people would complain if we actually had Peridot and Lapis and the Gems in Beat City episodes. But hey, what you gonna do? We're already this late in the game in the show. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed this episode. It was a really fun and cute episode. It was good for character development. The art was a bit weird in some places. It was off in some places. The music was phenomenal throughout, especially Connie's theme. I really love Connie's theme. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think, because like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. So down in the comment section, what did you like about this episode? What didn't you like? Were you disappointed? Because I'm sure there are people who are disappointed. How do you feel that the rubies are just left out in space? Because I hate that. I hate that. Let's get a discussion going. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, it really helps us out. Follow us on social media. Links to everything in the description down below. Offshore Clocks, signing out.